And good evening once again, and welcome to the John Fretwell Suite here in Mansfield this evening. The main reason that you've turned out, of course, is for the Liverpool legend, Mr. Bruce Grobbelaar, ladies and gentlemen. But ladies and gentlemen, before we bring Bruce onto the stage, I must say that the accolade and the status of a legend is very overused in this day and age. But this man is a true and utter legend, and not just a legend, he's a showman and a fantastic sportsman and footballer. Please be upstanding, give him a massive ovation, and please welcome onto the stage Bruce Grobbelaar, everybody. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm very good, yes. After flying into Heathrow Airport at 5:30 this morning from South Africa.
You're looking well on it.
Not bad.
Excellent.
When you drink a lot on the plane, then you have to sober up when you're coming over here.
I think we've all been through that, haven't we? Would you not disagree?
That's for sure.
Most definitely. Now, we're going to talk very intimately about your life tonight, not just about your life, but your footballing career as well. And we're going to start right at the beginning. Now, obviously everybody knows you from South Africa, Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. What do you class yourself as?
I'm Zimbabwean.
Zimbabwean?
Yes. With the South African passport, because the Zimbabweans took my passport away from me. The reason I got a South African passport is because that's where I was born, and they cannot take that away from me. So when Zimbabwe took my passport away from me, I got a British one. But now the Zimbabweans want to give me back my passport, so I'll have 3.
Now, from an early age, I've read in your autobiography, you found football. What is your connection with football, and can you remember the age that you found it?
Well, it's very, very easy because my mother was a goalkeeper in field hockey, and my father was a goalkeeper in football. And when we were going down to the sports clubs, the hockey and the football were played at the same time. So my sister was with my mother in the hockey, and she used to sit on the bench. Now with a little 3 to 5 year old, he just wants to go and run around and jump on the field. So my father took 2 stakes and he stuck them in the ground, and then tethered me to these 2 stakes. And I could go 5 meters forward and 5 meters back. In the end, I just sat on my behind and watched him in goal. And that's how I became a goalkeeper.
So were you always a goalkeeper from an early age, or did you fancy yourself as an outfield player?
No, I was a goalkeeper through and through. You see, the thing is, I'm going to ask a question to everybody in the audience. How many of you think goalkeepers are crazy? And
yes.
You know, and yeah, you look at that, there's probably 70%.
A lot of hands up there. I'd say more like 80, to be honest.
Well, 80, 90, whatever. But I'm going to tell you my side. And I'll tell you what, the only 2 sane people on the field are the goalkeepers. Why? Because we don't run around getting tired for 90 minutes. We wait for the ball to come to you. And when you got control of the ball, it's like a dog's home. You got 10 dogs in front of you. And when you throw the ball, they chase the ball, and the ball comes back to you, and then you throw it to another. So you can control 10 of them. But then there's the other goalkeeper controlling the other 10. So there's a fight in the middle for the ball. And the only people in the whole of the field that don't get running around, get tired, are the 2 goalkeepers. They wait for the ball to come to them. Simple.
Makes sense, Bruce.
No problem. You got to know your angles, though.
Growing up in Zimbabwe, how much European football did you follow from a young age, or from what you can remember?
Well, living in Rhodesia was easy because in 1958 was when we were allowed televisions in Rhodesia. Unlike South Africa, where it was in 1973. So it was a long, long time that they were able to follow any football that was played overseas. We got all the British games, but my first recollection was the 1966 World Cup, where we saw all these great goalkeepers playing. and 62 where they had Lev Yashin in the World Cup final. So I watched those World Cup finals at that age, and I was very young with my father. And then he decided to disappear. So we, with my mother in 1966, we used to watch. So it was quite an upbringing for me, because you had so many good goalkeepers here in England at that time. Gordon Banks, a young Peter Shilton, and you had jeepers, quite a few.
66 was a good year, undisputedly, for England. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more intimately about your life, like you describe in your autobiography. Can we talk a little bit more about your time in the army? Because you actually served and fought in the Rhodesian Bush War for 2 years, is that correct?
Yes, it was quite a precarious time, because I was at a team called Matabeleland Highlanders, and we won a trophy and we came second in the league. And then I decided that I wanted to become a goalkeeper. I finished my O-levels and school, and I said to my mother, "Oh, I'm going to become a goalkeeper." She says, "Which team?" I said, "Matabeleland Highlanders." And I only thought, I thought I was there, that the Salisbury Callies had actually sold me to Matabeleland Highlanders. They didn't. They sent me there on loan for a fee. So at the end of it, I said, "Well, I'm going to be a goalkeeper here." And she turned around and she said, "No, you better phone the Salisbury Callies to see who they've sold you to." And they sold me to a team called Chibuku Shumba. That's a brewery team. I didn't mind about the brewery, but the beer they make in milk cartons, and it said "Shake Shake" on the front. It's a millet beer, so you had to shake it before you drank it, otherwise you drink the alcohol and then you chew the rest of the stuff in it. And it was, excuse my language, a shit beer. And the team was worse. So I ended up leaving. And my mother said to me, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go to Durban." She says, "No, you got to go to the army. Everybody in Rhodesia is going to get called up. So I'm going to take you down to the barracks." So she took me down to Brady Barracks, asked the sergeant behind the desk, when is this young man Grobbelaar going in? He looked in the ledgers and he said 6 months' time. I looked at my mother and said, 6 months' time, I'm going to be surfing in Durban. And then the fella turns around to my mother and says, "Well, there's one going in tomorrow morning." She grabbed my hand and I had to sign. So I went in the next day. And first 6 months was just easy. And then Christmas 1975, we got mortared from the other side, and that's when the war started. So 18 months of real active service, as opposed to just messing about, swapping cigarettes for chocolates on the other side.
Wow, incredible. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit now to 1979, which was a significant year for you because you went to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, did you enjoy your time in Canada?
Yes, I did. I got... The story is that I was over here with West Bromwich Albion in 1978. Ron Atkinson asked me if I'd want to come over for a trial, and West Brom gave it to me, and so I came over here, and I was here for 5 months, couldn't get a work permit. So he says, and I said to him, "Listen, I can't get a work permit, so I'm going to go back to South Africa." Now, at that time, I was on a South African passport. And there's no way that the British are going to give a South African a work permit here. So he said, "No, you mustn't go back. I've got one little thing up my sleeve. A friend of mine down in Bournemouth, he's got a football team, Bournemouth, and go and see if he can swindle you a work permit." His name was Harry Redknapp. So I went down there to Harry Redknapp in Bournemouth. I stayed there for a week. He couldn't do anything for me, so I ended up coming to Derby County, just on a quick trial period with Tony Waiters. And then in the end, he says, "Yes, I want to sign you." So I ended up in Vancouver. And yes, it was a very, very nice place to go. especially if you're young and single, and you go there and cheap as it, a beautiful city, fantastic food, it was beautiful.
Great culture.
Fantastic culture. You got Chinatown on one side, you leave those Chinese alone, and then you go on the other side. It's beautiful. So I thought it was a great place to learn my football.
It was a good platform for you.
Platform. I only played 3 games. In the end, he says to me, "I'm going to send you to the strongest team in the English league." So immediately I thought Liverpool. I thought Derby County, maybe.
What about Mansfield?
Nottingham Forest, nah. Man City. Nah. He says, never mind thinking about those teams. He says, they're the strongest team in the league because they're holding everybody up on their shoulders. They're 92nd in the Football League. And you're going to Crewe Alexandra. And if you get bored, you can go and watch the trains.
Let's move on a little bit. What were your first impressions of Paisley? Let's talk about that.
Bob Paisley.
Bob Paisley.
You couldn't understand him for the first place.
Did you do any impressions?
Yeah, when I was playing for Crewe, my last game of the season was against York City at Gresty Road. And I played 24 games for Crewe. 20 times the manager, Tony Waddington, comes to me and he says, "Oh, Manchester City's watching you today." But on the last day of the season, he comes to me and he said, "Listen, you've done us proud. Thank you. And for this, you're going to be the captain." So I said, "Oh, thank you very much." He says, "But there's 2 very important people coming to watch you play today. Please don't do something stupid." So I said, "Well, thank you very much. No, I won't do anything stupid." Yeah, well, when we came out for our warm-up, it was raining. So I said to Mavis, the tea lady, "Can I borrow your umbrella?" And I ran out with the umbrella. And when I finished my warm-up, come running back in to see the boss standing like this. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Do you know those 2 people that came to watch you play?" I said, "What do you mean came?" He says, "Yes, they buggered off to go and watch Stoke City play Port Vale. So they watched me for 20 minutes. And yet they signed me 6 weeks later."
You must have made a good impression.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the umbrella was the best thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what did it. A quintessential moment there. Yeah. British moment.
Listen,
bring out the brolly.
I've got to tell you a story. At Crewe Alexandra, I've got one of the accolades of having. I've got the accolade of having the longest punch in the history of the Football League so far. Played against Mansfield one night.
Mansfield.
Keith Kennedy, Alan Kennedy's brother, hit the ball top corner. I've taken off and I've punched the ball. It's gone over the bar, over the fence, into a goods wagon, ended up in Inverness.
Going off topic a little bit, speaking of accolades, you've actually got various accolades under your belt, haven't you? You officially, and I don't even want to tell the audience, but you're officially the oldest goalkeeper in the world, because you haven't played in a World Cup, which is FIFA orientated, you actually played in another World Cup. Do you want to tell the audience about that this evening?
Well, I broke my record twice, because in 2007 I pulled on my boots again at the age of 50.
Good age.
Yeah.
The golden age.
A little team. I was living in Wakefield at the time, and in Castleford there's a little team called Glass Out and Welfare. And so they said to me, "Bruce, could you come and help us?" So I said, "How am I going to help you?" The chairman says, "Well, we £2,500 in the red, and we need to stay in the league. So please, can you come and help us?" So I said, "How do you want me to help you?" He says, "Well, a couple of dinners." I said, "Listen, a dinner's only going to get you 5,000, and you're 2,500 in the red. It's only going to keep you in the league for 1 or 2 years, and then you're going to have the same situation." I said, "Listen, when is your next home game?" They said 2 weeks' time. So I said, "Well, good. Advertise that I'm going to come and play for you. I'll get my clearance from the last club and I'll come and play for you." Which I did. And instead of having 120 people and 2 dogs. When we played against Maltby, Maine, the mining team, there were 3,500 people there. They raised £10,500, and they're still in the league today. But the thing about it was quite funny. With all the BS that's happened with my life and all the accusations and all the court cases, I thought I might have a little fun. Because when you go into the dressing room, you park on one side and you've got this hall just similar to this. So you go through the door of this, into the clubhouse, and there's the 2 ladies asking for a £10 note. So you take a £10 note, you put it in the bucket there, and then this one you pull out a little piece of paper. You read it, and I put it in my back pocket, went in the dressing room. And in the end, they come into the dressing room, just before we're going out, and they said there's £500 for the forecast. Well, I remembered now what that white piece of paper was. It was the forecast for the game, and it's in the 89th minute. We're leading 2-0, and Maltby Maine get a corner, and my ticket had 2-1. So I thought, I'll have some fun. So the corner came across, and I pushed it onto the crossbar, and I dived and headed the thing in. I won myself £500. So all the players said to me, hey, you must have done what you've done. I said, no, we still won, but here's the bucket, and I put the bucket down. I said, this is for you, have a nice time. And I went home. But the irony is, I'm now an honorary member of Glasshouse Welfare, and every time I go there, I can drink for free.
And score goals.
And then, so that was at the age of 50. This year, I got asked by a chap, can I meet you at Watford Services? Because he's running a team called Matabeleland Football Club. And they're going to be playing in the Kanifa World Cup to be played in London Borough of non-league sides. So it's all on the AstroTurf and 3G pitches. So I met him down there and he said, can you help us out? So I said, well, how do you want me to help you out? He said, well, just to come as a goalkeeping coach. So I said, yeah, no problem at all. And he said, well, we need some boots, because some of these chaps have never seen boots in their life and they haven't even played on a proper pitch. But we've got some former professionals from Zimbabwe that are going to help them out. So they've got these youngsters. I got them all their boots from New Balance, because it's Liverpool. I got all the returns. When you order online a pair of boots and then you put your foot in and it doesn't fit you, you send it back. They can't sell them again. So they just chuck them in, waste. So I got all the waste boots. So there was about 64 pairs. We got them all kitted out. The gloves were easy for the goalkeepers. I got them there. And then they asked, oh, we haven't got a visa to get into Britain. So I had to go and phone President Mnangagwa and said, excuse me, if you don't get these guys their visas to get over there, then they're not going to be able to show what Zimbabwe can do. So they got their visas, got everything through. And in the second game, the goalkeeper gets sent off. And they've only got 2 goalkeepers. So he says to me, listen, why don't you sit on the bench for the third game? Which I did. And then the other goalkeeper got injured. So in the 4th game, I started at the age of 60. So I'm the oldest goalkeeper to play in a World Cup.
Was there a forecast for that one as well? Or?
No, we just won 1-0.
You just won 1-0. Brilliant. Now, obviously there's a lot of Liverpool fans in the room this evening. Let's go back to Liverpool now, Bruce, and talk about you coming into such a big club. I mean, were you ever because you're a young man when you entered the club, were you nervous when you came to Liverpool, or?
No, I wasn't nervous at all, because in Rhodesia, with playing with Matabeleland and Highlanders and in certain cup finals, we actually played with Madibile is our average at Barberfields was 34,000. But if we played against the big teams, we got 50,000. So it was quite easy for me to come in there and hear the roar of Anfield. Yes, when I played, there was 66,000. So it's quite a jump. So I wasn't overawed at coming into Liverpool at all.
Did you like all the adulation from the fans, the ovation? It
What
must be a
adulation?
sensation walking out down the tunnel onto the pitch
What
to
adulation?
thousands of roaring Liverpool fans.
Listen, it took me 3.5 years to get the crowd on my side. They were Ray Clements fans.
Yeah, speaking of Ray Clements, we'll move on to this one. Now, your first Wembley was ironically against Ray Clements at Tottenham in the League Cup. Now, that must have been a special moment for you, right?
Well, yeah. Do you know that there's 3 rumours why Ray Clements left Liverpool? 1, his babysitter got pregnant. 2, he needed a new challenge. And 3, I told him if he didn't go, I was going to take his place. Now, if you want to know which rumour is true, all 3 of them are. So he left, and our first cup final that we played against was against Tottenham, and it was ironic that they go 1-0 up, and then we ended up. Ronnie Whelan had a fantastic game and scored 2 goals against Ray Clements for us to win 3-1, and I think that is the catalyst that sprung us forward, to win things, because we'd been knocked out.
Gave you more drive, more determination.
My first big season, we get knocked out of the European Cup. Why? Because I made a mistake. So by the end of the season, we've won a League Cup and the league. So we won a double. The next season, I make a mistake again. For the European Cup, we get knocked out again. But we win another double.
Third time lucky.
A double. And then the third time, we won a treble, yeah.
Excellent. Now, there's a couple of games that I want to ask you about from that season, because I know there's a couple of stories involved, and that's your first derby match at Goodison Park.
Yeah, when I was nicknamed the Clown, which actually stuck.
I've actually seen a photograph of that online. You dressed up as a clown. Was that part of the novelty with that? Or?
Well, when you made a mistake and you go 1-0 down, and then we equalised before half-time, and as we come out onto the field, there's 3 jesters standing on the field with this big mask or big painting of a clown's face, and on the front it said, "Bruce is a clown." So I shook all their hands near the halfway line. They ran off to the Gladys Street end, jumped over the fence. I went up to the Gladys Street end, put the face facing them, and then proceeded to play the game, which we ended up winning 3-1, and I saved the penalty from Graham Sharp. So afterwards I went to get my picture, and I just went 3-1, and the 3 jesters were being beaten up by their own crowd. Karma hurts.
Now, you no doubt endeared yourself to every Liverpool supporter by saving a penalty at Old Trafford, an unconventional way to work out Frank Stapleton and what was going on with that penalty. Do you want to enlighten us with that?
Well, that was my debut at what they call the Theatre of Dreams. Old
Theatre
Trafford.
of Dreams.
So we go in there, everybody's going, if we've got one player there, if you had asked him, who plays for us, if you had asked him, as a youngster, who would you support? He would have told you, I'm born in Dublin, I supported Manchester United. So, and if you played against Manchester United, for Manchester United, what would the biggest dream be? He says, that's easy, to score against Liverpool at the Stretford End. So we go down there, and that's Ronnie Whelan, you see. We're sitting there in the dressing room, and he's going, he's now getting all flustered because this is the team that he supported. So we go out onto the pitch, and he's sweating buckets, and he didn't end up playing, but he was sitting on the bench. So I go my usual routine. As you come into the dressing room, pick up the program, go out onto the pitch to check the pitch for the studs that you're going to wear. And then you come back inside, you get undressed and put your jockstrap on, your shorts, and then you go to the throne and sit down on the throne, you see, reading the program. Well, I read the program, and there's a sequence of pictures, about 7 of them. Frank Stapleton. Oh, okay, that's nice, okay. End up going out onto the pitch, playing the first half. The second half, they get a penalty. And then I remembered what was in the program, the sequence of events of Frank Stapleton taking a penalty against his last opponents at home, and the ball went in. So I thought, okay, fine. If this is true, I'm going to go to where he put the ball last time. So I dummied right and went left, and I saved the penalty. And the BBC comes to me afterwards and said, well, how did you know which way to go? I said, they should never put it in the bloody program.
Definitely worth a round of applause, that, ladies and gentlemen. And what an absolutely unbelievable save that was. While we're reminiscing this part of your career, because this season, which we're talking about in particular, ended in your first League Cup, didn't it, Bruce? And there's a great picture there, ladies and gentlemen, of Bruce and Gary Giuseppe there, look, which is a lovely picture in 1988, which I found. Just wanted to highlight on that, because I think you look like a very young Freddie Mercury there, Bruce. Would you not disagree? Freddie Mercury meets Rambo. How was that feeling to win the League Cup? For you, first time?
Well, the first time we won the League Cup was against very special against Ray Clements, and as I said, it was brilliant. That was taken just before we dived in the baths, because at Wembley they've got the bath is probably about as big as the stage. There is a ledge there, so all these guys were just coming to the side and just going down. I climbed on the ledge and gave everybody a good old soaking.
I'll talk a little bit about pre-match superstitions, because I read somewhere that you used to get pre-match superstitions. Is that true or false?
Everybody's got pre-match superstitions. I used to put my left boot on before my right, and I still do with my shoes. But at Anfield, I used to do that, and we lost a couple of times. And then I thought, well, now there's light switches. There's like 2 light switches. So I thought, well, give me a ball, and I'm going to try and put the lights out. So I did it. So as soon as they both go off, I go and switch them on and finish. We've done it. And that was my ritual. And Bob Paisley used to say, "You bloody idiot. You're gonna break the bloody lights."
That was the impression that I was waiting for. It's finally come out.
So one day we were playing at night, and I think it was Brighton. Well, yeah, it was Brighton. And I'm trying to get these lights off, and I can only switch the one light off, not the both. But you have to, you've got to get them together. And I'm trying like a bear. Well, the referee's blown his whistle, all the team's gone out. I'm still trying to get the bloody lights on. They're on the pitch waiting for the bloody goalkeeper. In the end, Ronnie Moran comes in and smashes the lights and says, "Get the bloody thing out of here." Right? I didn't put it out. We went out and we lost 1-0. But it's a League Cup, so we had a second chance, and we went down there and beat them 3-0. So, ended up winning anyway.
Looking at football in general today, it's not how it was when you were playing professionally. It's more of a business. Would you not disagree?
Well, yes.
Players don't play with the same passion that you had when you were on the pitch.
Clubs now haven't got players. They've got commodities.
Commodities, I agree.
The players are the commodities, and they've got to look after their well-being. With us, we looked after our own well-being. Now you get the nutritionists that say you've got to have certain foods on certain days, and you've got to watch your calories, and you've got to have a lot of, carbs.
Yeah, everybody's so conformed.
A lot of water. Well, we had a lot of carbs and water.
Didn't do you any harm?
No, we drank beer.
Had fun.
Well, the carbs are the malt barley and the hops. And we drank water with it. So
Soonest took bad, didn't it?
No, he didn't. He drank champagne.
Looking at Liverpool now, who would you say is a future protege? It doesn't have to be an English protege for football, just in general.
At Liverpool now?
Yeah, Liverpool now, in this day and age.
Oh, there's a couple of 14-year-olds that will be proteges. That's
Got
for
real
sure.
potential to go
Real,
all the way.
real potential. There's a goalkeeper of 15. There's 3 players that are 14. Fantastic little players, and they
And obviously having that strong connection with the club, do you still watch them play in the Premier League and in Europe and things?
Absolutely. I'm still with Liverpool now that I've come back from Canada, because my future second wife has found a cowboy and moved down to California. So what can you do? I haven't got horses to give her.
You can do the lasso though, surely.
No. So I've come back and I'm working with Liverpool, and I'm a consultant in coaching and also in goalkeeping coaching. So I go to the academy and help out in the academy for the goalkeepers.
Brilliant. That's so good, Bruce. And before we wrap this up, what I'm going to do is, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to get your thinking caps on now. I'm going to ask Bruce a couple more questions, and then I'm going to put it down to some audience participation, where I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask Bruce a question. But we're gonna talk.
Don't be shy either. Okay?
Yeah, don't be shy. Fire away. We're talking intimately about his career and his life. Let's talk a little bit about some of your, how can I describe it? Different ways of manoeuvring on the pitch, should we say, to distract strikers, to distract players. Let's talk about the spaghetti legs, for starters, in the penalty shootouts.
Okay, well, I know that everybody wants to know why I did those things, why
Tactics.
why I did what I did on the day. Well, it's very easy. We've played the game, and we've drawn 1-1, and there's my second manager, Smoking Joe. He's now on his 13th cigarette after during the game, and he's like this, right? 1-1, you've done the business, but now I'm just going to tell you who's going to go and take these penalties. Phil Neal first, Stevie Nichols second, Souness third, Rashi fourth, Dalglish fifth. To which Kenny goes, excuse me, Gaffer, you substituted me in the 86th minute. Jeez, he pulls out another fag. He's got 2 fags going on. Oh, Jesus. He says, well, who came on for you? He looks down, and there's a player on his back, his legs up in the air, the physio's with him. Michael Robinson, you've been on the field 8 minutes, you got bloody cramp. He looks around, he says, where's Hansen and Lawrenson? Where are you?
They don't do it.
He turns around, there they are on the halfway line, waving at the fans.
They don't do it.
And he's going, Sammy Lee, Sammy. When you've played 120 minutes of football, the grass has grown a little higher. Sammy's trying to hide under the grass. In the end, there were 2 people like this. He looks at me, he looks at Alan Kennedy, he says, Bruce, you take the 5th penalty. Well, it didn't happen like that. There goes a coin, comes down, bang, Liverpool in the Roma end. Well, Phil Neal is now tying his bootlaces, so Stevie Nichols thinks, I'm going to take this ball and run into he's now in there. Phil Neal says, excuse me, Gaffer, it should be me. He goes, let's run with it. Now, Stevie Nichols is not the full shilling. And I'm going to tell you a reason why. For this final, he got a brand new boot contract. So he's coming out of his contract with High Tech, and he's got a Puma boot contract. They've sent him all his boots about a week before. So he sits down there in the dressing room. There's a big box. He wants the match boots. So he takes out the first one. Those are training boots. Yeah, these are match boots. He takes the laces out, puts his foot in, and he goes, oh, jeepers. Oh, this is a bit tight. Billy, his boot boy, comes running through from the other dressing room. He says, what's the matter? He says, you better wear these boots in the shower. Wear them for training in the rain, in the bath, and take them home, wear them as slippers. I need them for the game next week. Sits down, takes his foot out of it, gives it to Billy. Billy looks at it. Nice boots. Puts his hand in it, takes out the paper and puts his foot in. So that's the reason why I'll tell you he's not the full shilling. So now he's in the box and he's got size 13 feet trying to squeeze them into size 11. He's like that. Shovel foot, we used to call him. Here he goes and shovels the foot, boof, and it goes over the bar. Now, I didn't even have to have to look up with his arm around me. It was the boss. I could smell the cigarette. And he says, listen, my son, myself and the coaches, the chairman and the directors, the captain and the team, the wives and the girlfriends, and I'm thinking, where's he going with us? And he says, and the 20,000 fans, Liverpool fans, I'm not going to blame you. Oh, if you can't stop a ball from 12 yards. I'm thinking to myself, I've heard the blame word. So oh, no, he said not. I said, oh, thanks, Gaffer. And as I was about four meters away, he says, but try and put them off. So I get into the middle of the goal. I've just come past Stevie Nicol. I said, thanks for that. He said, walk off and do your own job. I get into the goal like this and I'm thinking, what does he mean by trying to put them off? And being a goalkeeping coach in North America, I've been there for 9 years. I used to say to our guys that the teams that I've done, if you get into this situation, the first penalty, don't go anywhere. Because that guy taking the penalty is just as nervous as you are. Stay where you are. It's just going to come around here. Well, I went right. The ball came straight down the middle, clips my fingers, and goes in the back of the net. Stupid idiot. Well, Phil Neal's finished tying his bootlaces. He puts the ball down, sticks it in. Then there's this little Italian winger called Bruno Conti. He picked a ball like this. And he's like this. And you can almost hear him singing to himself, I'm Bruno Conti. I crossed the ball for Prutza to score. Now I'm going to score a penalty. So as he's dancing like that, I went to the line and I went like this. And he stops, looks at me, gets to the spot, puts the ball down, takes 2 steps backwards. I get on the line again, I go like this. He takes 2 steps and blasts the ball over the bar. And I thought, it might work.
You have to run away like that. I'll show you.
Well, Souness gets the ball. He sticks the ball in the top corner. Nobody, even if they had 3 goalkeepers, then nobody would have saved it. I couldn't get into the goal, that next penalty, quick enough. I've gone, hey, come on, you beauty. Come on, Rigoletti. I've been watching you yesterday and the day before in the same corner. In this very stadium. You put it in the same corner every time. Come on. As he came to kick it, I went, zhoo, top corner. I've looked over, it went in the other side. And then when I bounced up and I stood up and I looked at the stadium, when I was watching him take the penalty, it was from the other side of the stadium. Different corner. I made a mistake. Rashi picks the ball up, puts the ball down, bounces it in. He's now 3-2. And then comes Graziani. Graziani picks the ball up, and he puts his arm around the referee. And I didn't like that, so I ran into the back of the net. I bit the net. Said, leave him alone. You can't touch a bloody referee. Wash. And now he's walking like this, talking to the referee. And he's like this, marching. But you know, as Italians, they don't march that way. They march this way. If there are any Italians in here, don't worry. It's only in the Second World War. So I ran in this side. I bit the net this side. I said, oh, you leave him alone. Eventually he comes to the spot, kisses the ball, puts it down, crosses himself, and that's when I came in the goal like this.
Was that before or after you'd been to the pub?
You know what I thought I was eating there? I'm in Rome. The net looks like spaghetti. You know when you put hard spaghetti in boiling water, you get a collapse from the knees down. So I did this. He looked at me, crossed himself again. I did this again. And then remembering from the other side of the stadium, because he was the second penalty taker, I was saying, it's got to come here. So I've gone early. He's now changed his mind. He's gone forward and he's scooped the ball, hit the bar, and it went over. I started running around the field, jumping up and down. Yeah, you beauty. Come on, yeah. Forgetting that I had to take the fifth penalty. I look in the box and there's Alan Kennedy. Because the boss had said, look at that idiot running around the field. Alan Kennedy, get the ball and put it in there. Well, Alan Kennedy tells us that if he got a penalty, he's going to put it in bottom right. Bottom right, bottom right. And he went up and hit it so sweetly, top left. Alan Kennedy has won us 2 European Cups with 2 mishits, because in 1981 the same thing happened there. The only place he could have hit it is bottom right, and where did he hit it? Top left there as well. Any golfers in? Are there any golfers in? You know when you've had a shank? Well, Alan Kennedy's had 2 shanks, but he's won us 2 European Cups.
Bruce, I think I can undisputedly say, without further ado, your showmanship, your charisma, and not just that, your talent as well on the pitch. I think you are truly one of the most entertaining football players that we've seen in generations. Would you not disagree, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
I'd like you to all be upstanding, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a massive ovation, a huge round of applause. Let's hear it for Bruce Grobbelaar, everybody. And what we're going to do is, to wrap the night up very quickly, we're going to hand it over to the audience, you ticket holders that have purchased tickets to come and see Bruce this evening. We're going to put it down to you now, and we're going to do a live questions and answers on the stage. So if you have got a sensible question that you want to ask Bruce about his life, about his career, please place your hand up and I will pass the microphone over to you.